Today I visit with Gary Cadwallader of Warrensburg, Missouri. I'm your host, Rick J., and this is Spotlight on the Arts. To you from the studio of Gary Cadwallader in Warrensburg, Missouri. So please, if you would, turn with me and welcome Gary Cadwallader. Gary, it's so good to have you back with us again here on Spotlight on the Arts.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Well, you know, he was with us last November, the 10th of 2020, right in the middle of that old COVID thing going on, as we could call it. And you spoke of a project that you were working on and promised to bring us up to date on that project at the completion or some close to that time frame. So I'd like to turn it over to you and ask you to share with us the exciting project that we see behind us and in its finished state. So Gary, let us know how this project come about for those that wasn't with us on November 10th.
Okay, well, I'm part of a group from Kansas City called ArtistINC-KC, like Incorporated.
I see.
And their first class usually has to do with business and how to do your taxes and all those art-related things that are business-like. And then the advanced project, which I just finished, is a one-year project for artists of all kinds. So that could be musicians, writers, filmmakers, painters in my case. And so I had set out to do a very large installation type piece.
Then can you, the process, it started all with the Arts Inc.
Mm-hmm.
And what was your timeline, completion date, when you began the first piece?
Okay, we began, I think we had our first meeting towards the end of February.
I see.
Of last year. And then, then of course March 2020, along comes COVID and threw everybody's timeline off, but I still was able to finish 5 panels. I had projected I would do 8, but it just turned out that 5 I was pretty much finished anyway. So
I see.
In this case, the panels are 6 feet tall, 4 feet wide, so 6 by 20 feet when it's flat.
Right.
But then I put it on these bases so that we could show it in a semicircle.
And you're going to give us a descriptive of the pieces
Mm-hmm.
in a few moments. Well, it's the basic theme and message that they represent. Overall, and then you'll describe all those pieces.
Okay.
They represent. So overall, what was your theme?
That's a good question. It was just things that I really liked and wanted to paint. Basically, there's the idea of popular culture versus art history, and you'll see things like Pink Panther and Dopey, and then it'll be juxtaposed against something from art history. For instance, like a Gauguin type painting.
Okay. Well, great. Let's just go ahead and turn to Gary and let him explain his project.
Okay, here's this big project, and I worked from left to right, and so this was the first panel, and it has, as I mentioned, some pop culture. There's the Pink Panther. There's like a Wicker Man, and then we have the shadow of a woman which becomes a tree, and actually that is the shadow of Carrie D. English, who was a America's Top Model winner. And also I'm doing a lot of things where I will put a three-dimensional object like this lizard on top of a very flat thing, like this painting. The black part is Carrie D, and then the white part becomes one of those Easter Island heads that you see. On the second panel, this large piece that extends over to the first is a takeoff on a painting by Henri Rousseau, which was called The Dream. And in that painting, he has a nude woman on a couch in the middle of the jungle, surrounded by lions and tigers. So that's where the Pink Panther comes in. And then we have John Wick, and my nude lady is a little bit tougher than Rousseau's. I wouldn't mess with her. She's got an AR-15 and all the food she would ever need. Moving on to panel 3, there is a COVID-19 Barbie. And then we have, this is the grimace, the face that Miley Cyrus made on the cover of Rolling Stone last year. And I liked it so much that I had to take that whole face. There's also, this is probably hard to see, but there's a chameleon in here and some other crazy things. When we move to panel 4, we've got Picasso. This one gets to be more art historical here. This is my version of a Gauguin painting. And then there's Gauguin himself without any pants, because he was sharing a studio in like 1890s with the guy that painted this, Alphonse Mucha. And they were sharing a studio. Gauguin didn't have any money. Mucha had all the money. So one day he took this picture, and it's a famous photograph of Gauguin playing the harmonium without any pants on. And those are just things that I wanted to throw in there that I really like. And finally, when we come to the last panel, this is a takeoff on Botticelli, who did The Birth of Venus in the Renaissance. And in that painting, Venus is riding on a half of a seashell. And I made her more modern. And so my model has tattoos, and she has pets, and because she's a goddess, an American goddess gets an Oscar rather than a title. And also then down here is Dopey, which represents me, because I like the painting Persephone that's in the Nelson Gallery by Thomas Hart Benton, where there's an old codger looking over a tree at a nude young lady. And even though I'm an old codger, I would rather be known as Dopey. So that's it.
Well, Gary, that was a great presentation, explanation. Fantastic, awesome, however you want to describe it at work. It really brings you into every one of the paintings. It's like seeing a mini movie along those lines. What's your plans for this exhibition now for year 21, 22?
Okay, well this took most of a year, let's say 8 months, and I thought that I would continue with that, and I'm going to do another one, and this one's going to be bigger. I've already bought the first canvas. It'll be 7 feet tall, and I'm going to make a room that's going to be 40 feet around, so we'll show it in a circle.
Oh, excellent.
And there's a painting on the far wall that we'll show you later that's kind of jungle-like. Mm-hmm. So imagine that you walked into a room and it looked like Hawaii or a Hawaiian jungle or a tropical jungle of some kind. So it'll completely surround you.
Oh, excellent. So we look forward to that. Now, we spoke of the COVID-19. Mm-hmm. It's right more or less the tail end of one of the the strains, I guess you could call them, and we're predicting more and possibly how we're going to deal with that. So how was COVID-19 during that period of time, and continuing on, how was that for you the last year or so?
Well, the first thing that happened was I had a solo show in Poplar Bluff, and it ran for about a week, and then the whole stage shut down.
Yes.
So that kind of killed that.
Right.
I did not try to show during that period of time, but I was still working on things, and I found a model now that I work with and her photographer, and we do everything over the net.
Oh,
So
excellent.
I tell them what I want, the photographer takes the pictures, they send them to me, and then I pay them through PayPal.
So you have a website?
Yes,
Or
sir.
sure, can you give that, look into the camera and give the website address?
It's www.garypaints.com.
Excellent. And you want to give the address?
Oh, the address here in the studio is
Is that-
101 East Market Street in Warrensburg, Missouri.
And so you're open to views of this painting. You do also commission work. And how do they reach you then? Is it
Okay, they
best?
could call me at 660-422-1322, or you could email Gary at garypaints.com.
Oh, excellent. And we're going to take a quick tour of not gallery, but studio here. So bear with us.
This is an acrylic with some fish, some watercolors we have down there. This is another acrylic. This is more like what I'm probably going to go to with the second project, with the big round 40-foot project. It'll be this, working with my model that I have that I work with online. Another acrylic. At the top, we have 4 paintings that are all the same size watercolor, all 22 by 30. Let's see, I suppose the most interesting one would be this one. It only interests me because I actually burned the paper with a lighter in a few places. I got holes in it, and I ended up calling it fuego. Spanish for fire. Another watercolor and another watercolor. This is actually a 2-panel painting that is oil this time. I don't usually work in oil, but I just wanted to. What's different about this is actually these are bullfighters from the rodeo. But what I did was I wanted to make it as interesting as some of the Renaissance paintings were, and they were typically religious. So what I've done is you've got 13 figures in here. And one of them doesn't have a gold hat or a halo, so you can imagine who that is. Jesus, or in this case Jesus, is back there with his own halo, and he's going to ride a bull called El Diablo. Now the idea was that I would make it like a Renaissance painting, and so typically one of the tropes that you see in a Renaissance painting is some guy pointing towards the center. Let's see what else. A lot of times Michelangelo and all those guys wanted to put themselves in the painting somewhere, so this little fat boy here, if you can imagine that, is me. I'm Gary Cadwallader. Thank you very much for watching, and I want to thank Rick J. and Spotlight for the Arts for having me today.